Hello, everyone. Today is Wednesday. We're already in the middle of the week. I am super excited about this today. This is actually our first Legal Limelight podcast with the one and only Mitch Jackson. Mitch, I'm super excited to have you here today.
Francesca, it's good to be here. You know, I'm a big fan of everything you do, and it's a pleasure to help you kick things off.
Thank you so much. So for everyone who, I know you know Mitch, but I have to do an intro for those of you who don't know him. You need to be following him. Mitch is a California trial lawyer who enjoys combining law, social media, and technology to disrupt, hack, and improve his clients' companies, causes, and professional relationships. He's an award-winning 2009 Orange County Trial Lawyer of the Year, and he has an entire list of accolades. Mitch also has the #1 bestseller book on Amazon that has topped also the #1 new release in 2 separate categories. And it's called The Ultimate Guide to Social Media for Business Owners, Professionals, and Entrepreneurs. Yes, I still need to buy a copy. Like, what? I don't know why I don't have it.
Oh, your money's no good with me. I'm going to make sure you get a copy.
Okay, thank you, Mitch. And so with that, Mitch also, he enjoys sharing 33 plus years of marketing and branding tips with others during interviews, from the stage, and in his Legal Minds Mastermind, which we will absolutely touch upon today.
Cool.
His speaking page is at streaming.lawyers/speaking, and you can connect with Mitch at his blog, streaming.lawyer, on his website. And most importantly, Mitch Jackson on Facebook and Instagram and Clubhouse.
The Clubhouse, friends. To be here, you know, and real quick, I don't want to throw you off your game plan because I know we have a series of questions. The reason I can brag about this book, and I want you to have a copy, is that I had 44 experts contribute chapters to the book. I only wrote 8 chapters. The other 44 chapters were written by top experts from around the world. And I give this book to friends of mine that are like, Mitch, how do you tap into the power of social media? How do you do what you do? And I did this book so I could just give it to them. It's like, here you go. Here's the blueprint, right? Everything's there. So I just wanted you to know that I'm very proud and grateful to all of my friends that contributed chapters to the book. And that's why I don't feel guilty with promoting it, because it's their work, not really mine.
Yeah, and part of it too, I know like Zig Ziglar was all about this, that, you know, he can't be everywhere all at once. And so the best way to share your message and get the information out is by putting things in recordings and books. So you really did a great service to everyone for compiling that and getting all the experts together.
Thank you, Francesca. But nobody wants me every place at once. Just trust me on that.
I would disagree. I think Rob would disagree too. We all love the network that you've helped build. It's pretty impressive.
Thank you.
So I'm really excited to have you on here today. The purpose of these shows is really to spotlight key legal players who are doing big things. You are disrupting the law world. Not a lot of lawyers, and it's 2021. It's crazy. Not a lot of lawyers are using social media for marketing or to network, but we are on a mission to disrupt that and break that. Mitch, you have been very inspirational and a great guiding light, I would say, for lawyers who are new in this space. And we're going to get all into that today with all of your tips. But first, I really want to ask you, I want to take it back, right? I want to know how you got started in your legal career, and particularly where you grew up and what made you go to law school.
Ooh, I love that question. And, you know, as a dad, as a happily married partner to my wife, who's my partner in my law firm, Francesca, I love looking back because I like trying to share some of the life lessons I've learned with my kids, who are now 26 and 21. Our daughter's a second year country city in Los Angeles for Shepherd Mullen. Going back in time, I grew up on a guest ranch in Tucson, Arizona. I was a cowboy. We always have like 30 horses. We're out in the middle of nowhere, about 20 miles outside of Tucson. And my mom and dad, neither one of them graduated from college. My dad, after his first year at Ohio State, was asked to leave. It's a whole long, fun story for another show. So I grew up in an environment where I watched my parents interact with people from all over the world who came to the ranch to play cowboy for a week. And we had some fairly high profile guests: Walt Disney, John Wayne, Morley Safer of 60 Minutes, a lot of well-known trial lawyers. And I got to watch my mom and dad interact with a lot of amazing people that had fascinating and interesting lives. So early on, when the lawyers came to the ranch, I was intrigued with, what they had to say, with the causes that they were fighting, and with the things that they did each and every day as a lawyer, which and other lawyers watching the show know, but I didn't grow up in a legal family. Yeah. And so walking past the corrals to the bus stop each day, it was about a quarter of a mile walk up the driveway, a dirt driveway in the desert. And we had a local assistant district attorney move in to a house just way up at the end of the driveway. And I started to get to know Fred. My dad and I started doing scuba diving trips with Fred down in the Sea of Cortez in Mexico. And I'd listen to his trial stories. And, fast forward to, manning to squeeze a 4-year degree into a 5-year experience at the University of Arizona, going out, working at Caesars up in Lake Tahoe for a couple of years, and realizing, if I want to be a lawyer, I better start now before I have too many things on my plate. So I took watching my folks build relationships. I listened to the stories that Fred would share on our scuba diving trips and decided, even though I wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer and I didn't really focus on grades in high school and college, I'm going to see if I can somehow finagle my way into law school and become a lawyer. And so that was the foundation for me doing what I am now doing today. A lot of it was premised around going all the way back to elementary school, taking on the bullies, protecting people that couldn't protect themselves. This was an underlying theme that I've had my whole life. And I've always kind of watched out for the underdogs, right? And what I realized, though, that as a lawyer is that it allowed me as a trial lawyer to do that in court, to take on people that put profits, before people, companies put profits before people, to take on the wrongdoers, to take on the bullies in the corporate world that are taking advantage of the consumer. And so that's the short story to why I became a lawyer, what my motivation is each and every day. And all of that does play into why I'm embracing social media, because it allows us to amplify that message to help more people 24/7 around the world.
Yeah, Mitch, and it goes back to advocacy and education. You've really built a community upon that, where you give so much advice. I mean, even anecdotally, you've helped me. I mean, and we've had conversations about this, that you don't have a fixed mindset. You really do have a mindset that's founded in abundance, and more is more, and there's really no competition, because my grandfather always said to me, Francesca, you want to fill a room around you with people who are smarter than you, who are better than you.
Smart man. What did your grandfather do?
He was, he came over from Italy. He was a masoner. He was a bricklayer. And it was a time where Italians were very discriminated against, but he watched and he said, I can see what these people are doing. And he learned, and he built an extremely successful empire. And I really got a lot of advice from him. He passed away from COVID in December, and it was, it's
I'm sorry to hear that.
It's super sad, but I really, my grandfather is the reason why I am who I am today. And these stories will always resonate with me. But that reminds me of you're doing it the right way, Mitch. You always bring other people up, you spotlight them. And I'm the same way, as it comes to clearly this legal limelight. And, and I could see that. We're going to get into your legal mastermind program that you do, because I know that you've been able to divide up your time. You're not just doing one-on-one coaching. You're really helping to capture as many people as possible. But before we go there, I want to know about your days in law school. And you can't just throw out to us that you ended up marrying your law partner, your wife became your law partner. I want to hear about that. How did you guys meet? And tell us more.
Ooh, interesting. But real quick, I love the story about your grandfather.
Thank you.
And my uncle and both of my grandfathers played a big part in my life, similar types of stories. And I'll tell you that being a waiter, a bartender, working the front door, at bars and restaurants in college, learning those people skills that had nothing to do with law school and everything to do with life is what's helped me over the last 35 years, in front of a jury. And I just wanted to put that in there because a lot of us have this foundation. We're coming into being a lawyer or whatever the profession is, and we forget about where we came from and what we learned when we were younger. And I think those life lessons are just as important today, probably more so, especially in this upside down COVID-19 world where we're yearning for human interaction. Empathy is something we need to lead with now. And I know just from what you shared about your grandfather, that's the way I was raised, and I'm doubling down on those attributes moving forward in 2021 in helping clients and in trying my cases, because I think that's what life's all about. I was in my last year of law school, and I'm walking down the hallway, and I see all my buddies gathered around somebody. And Lisa was the new girl in school. She transferred over into our law school, and and to make a long story short, they were very interested in who's this new girl in school. And so I purposefully kind of avoided the crowd. I had a lot of other things going on. We're getting ready for a basketball game across the street at Cal State Fullerton. We were in an intramural league. And so I went ahead and did my thing, came back to class, and found out that look who's sitting in the front row of my, I think it was criminal procedure class. So the new girl. So as this seating chart is being circulated around the classroom, I wrote on the bottom of the chart something like, hi, good looking, something like that, and under her name. And so when the chart made it back up to the professor, who I knew, I had had a couple of classes with him in the past. I remember him looking at the seating chart and looking at Lisa's name and said, why don't I start today's case briefing with the young lady who wrote, hi, good looking to me, right? And she looks at me, she looks at everybody in the class, and I raised my hand as a professor. That was me. I was talking to the young lady in the front row. And so that's how we met. I love that. I heard from her after we walked out of the classroom. She was not a happy camper, but I used my charm and my quick wit to quickly win her over, and the rest is history. So that's how we met.
Oh my God, you were being creative, not only digitally, but savvy in day one. Yeah. That's amazing, Mitch.
Yeah, I was not behaving myself, but it worked out. And what's interesting is she ended up during the class, smartest kid in the class. We immediately fell in love. We got married in '88. She was with an insurance defense firm for a couple of years. When we got married and took our honeymoon, she gave notice, and when we came back, she came into the firm. And we've been practicing together ever since. And it's been a wonderful experience. I grew up with my mom and dad working together. She grew up with her mom and dad working together. So it was a natural type of, I can't even imagine not working with my spouse, having lunch together, taking off early on a Thursday afternoon and seeing a movie if we could. It was just a very natural type of transition for both of us. And her mom and dad are two of my best friends. So it was just good on so many different levels.
I really love that. Two of the, I don't know if I ever told you this, but Loza and Loza is literally it's my firm name, but it's Tina Loza who started it back a decade ago in the last recession. She quit her job, started it. She ended up doing so well that her husband was like, I'm just going to join you and follow you. And he joined, and he's a patent guy, and they run it, Mitch. And they run it like a family. They really do. It's 50 lawyers. And I felt that vibe when I interviewed. And that's what I was looking for. I needed to make a move that was accommodating and flexible, and they have kids, and they get it. And I think when you have that foundation of people who value family and relationships, it really sets the tone of your business environment. And then when you hire people, they become like, right? Don't you feel like your employees are kind of like your extended family?
They are. Everybody's treated like family. And I think the clients feel that way too. I think the clients, they get the feel when they start communicating with you and talking with your team over the phone, or, before the internet and social media, back when we started in '86,
Or Zoom.
And before Zoom, which I love, by the way. I love, eliminating friction between, what we can offer and the solution that we provide our clients. And I'm sure you do the same thing. But I think everybody picks up on that. I think the juries pick up on it. I think judges pick up on that, and Peter over in the comments, I appreciate the hat tip, my friend, but the ball was always in Lisa's court, and she made all the important decisions. So yeah. And it's interesting, when we started the firm, I actually, our firm is Jackson and Wilson. Her maiden name is Wilson. She's Lisa Wilson. But Lisa, what do you want to call the firm? And she said, well, you've been out for a couple of years already. And she was very, cool about it. She's like, let's just, go with Jackson and Wilson and just build an empire. Right. And so she's always been the brains behind the firm. And anybody that knows us already knows that, and she's been a great compass when it comes to ethics, when it comes to accepting cases, when it comes to doing the right thing, and has been the best thing that's happened to me in my life. So professionally and personally.
Yeah. And my husband and I don't work together. We're both in the same house right now. I hope we get to work together. We both have very entrepreneurial spirits, so I can definitely see us working together at some point. But for now, we're separate. I did not marry a lawyer. He's a mortgage banker. He's my numbers guy. I just buying a house was very easy.
Look, here's the thing. Just like anything else, building a practice, working together, there are ups and downs. There are always challenges, right? But one of the things I've noticed, whether you're a doctor, a CPA, a lawyer, if your partner, if your spouse understands what you're going through while you're getting ready for a trial, okay, they'll give you your space. They'll offer to help if you need help. They know what you're going through. They know all of the weight and pressure that you're carrying on your shoulders. And I've tried a lot of cases. I've tried 70 plus, real jury trial cases here in California, which is a lot. And every single case I try, I still get nervous. I still am on pins and needles. And it's not because I don't know what I'm doing. It's not because I'm not prepared. It's because I really care about the outcome of the case. I want to make sure, that what we do in the courtroom with 12 jurors who we've never met before, that I do everything we can to win the case and to get the outcome that my client's looking for. And so sometimes I'm a little short. Sometimes I'm a little quick in response. I say something I shouldn't. And Lisa will remind me, just go get your stuff done. I'll be here when you're ready. And it's just a good back and forth, whether you're working with your partner, whether you're working with close friends, whoever it is that you're building out your life with professionally, make sure it's someone that you can communicate with. You have a common goal. You have the same ethics, the same desires, the same end game in mind. I think that works really well for all my friends from law school that have built very successful practices. Francesca, the practices that have stayed and have made a difference are the ones where the partners just shared a lot of similar ideas and goals, and they had the same purpose in life. And it's just been fun to watch all of my knucklehead friends over the years just do really cool and good things. And it's fun to watch.
I love it. Yeah. I have such an incredible network of friends now who are like in-house counsel. They're rising up. I know that they're going to be GCs and partners and just do awesome stuff. So like I'm at the point in my career now where we're breaking out from being like associates to becoming partner, or assistant general counsel to becoming like these higher level roles. And it's really cool to see them excel. And it's been challenging to do this, but having that network, I think I talk about this all the time. You mentioned it, authenticity and building relationships. It's not only important for client development, it's really critical as you build your sphere of allies around you, because
it's everything.
Like if something's outside of your realm, do you pick up the phone and call your friends who may be in another area?
All the time. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I love tapping into the wisdom of other people, and I think one of the exciting things about meeting you, and we met on TikTok originally, which my kids cringe when they see me on TikTok, and I'm not there a lot, but it's like I saw a professional who was embracing the personality of the platform, sharing professional tips, but also part of your personal life, and what was happening is we feel like we know you. We
Yes.
trust you. We know that you're a good person with a good heart trying to add value to the legal community and your clients. And because of that, we connected. And so I think of you as one of my intellectual property lawyers who happens to be an expert in her field of law, so that when friends of mine have IP questions,
Yes.
I can just refer them to you or 3 or 4 other mutual friends of ours that and put their best interests first. And it's about having an abundance mentality. There's plenty of business. There's plenty of opportunities out there for everyone. And if you take care of a client's interests first, everything else place. And I'd like to see more lawyers do that. We don't have to be the solution for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be the solution for the right client so that we can get that client the correct results. And it's not complicated, but sometimes it's hard to say no, because as a lawyer, you feel like you're giving up an opportunity to maybe bring in revenue. You're giving up an opportunity to continue to build that network. And what I've learned over the years is by learning how to say no at the right time, it really opens up the opportunity to say yes to the right cases. And you mentioned a little bit about, how I'm approaching the practice of law. We posted a video earlier today about being different. And it really does apply to lawyers. And you're doing this. And it's the latest video at streaming.lawyer. And after about 5 years of practice, I realized Orange County, California, we have, I think it's like the second or third largest bar association in the United States. And we have some gifted lawyers here in town, great lawyers. It was really hard coming from Tucson to start the practice here in Orange County, California. I started day one out of the back of my car. I had a couple of clients. I'm playing basketball all day at Main Beach, down Laguna Beach. Really, after 15 or 20 minutes, I was kind of done practicing because I made my phone calls. If I didn't have court, I got a couple of files in the back. And so I was networking on the court. But when I would go to the evening bar association meetings, it was hard to kind of be noticed and to stand out. And what I figured out after about 5 years is when I gave myself permission to be different and to go about the practice of law through a different lens, and by sharing different activities that I've talked to you about in the past, it allowed me to kind of stand out and separate myself from the other lawyers. While other lawyers were golfing or playing tennis, I'm windsurfing, I'm riding and racing motocross. And so it allowed me to connect with a whole different group of lawyers in the legal community and their referrals, which directly resulted in us being able to quickly build the firm and represent the kind of people we wanted to represent. So once I gave myself permission to just be myself and to share who I am with the world, everything started to click. And now, fast forward to today with social media, with live video, with shows like this, I think we can do this easier and faster. Back then we didn't have the internet, we didn't have social media. And so it was a lot more difficult to build your brand. I think in today's world, smart lawyers that embrace digital, embrace social, understand the right mindset of social media, having a go-giver type of mindset, understanding the personalities of the platforms, understanding how to communicate in a way where you're not just telling an effective story, but you're telling a story that empowers your audience to give themselves permission to take that next desired step. That's the difference between, I think, a good trial lawyer and a great trial lawyer. A good trial lawyer can tell an excellent story during a trial, all else being equal, evidence, the law, your arguments, but they're storytellers, right? Yeah. An excellent trial lawyer tells a good story, but at the same time empowers the jury when they go back into the deliberation room to come back with a verdict that your client needs. And so I think with social media and digital today, it's easier and faster to do all of the above if you go about it the right way.
So what would you say to lawyers who are super hesitant about using social for reasons such as, I don't want to get in trouble with ethics rules and giving, people misconstruing it as advice, or I don't want to come off unprofessional, or maybe they're using social, but they're so buttoned up and afraid that they're coming off as, not authentic. What's your advice to those people?
Well, my advice is, I get it. I get it. But my advice is take a step back, take a deep breath, and think about, where do you want to be 2 years from now or five years from now? Whether it's professional, an answer, professionally, personally, whatever it might be. And understand that the state bar rules are not that complicated. What generally, check with your state bar, but what applies offline applies online. You have to be truthful. You can't disclose confidential client information, right? You can't misrepresent the facts. If you're honest and truthful, and if you speak from the heart, and if you show your human side on social media, that's what connects us as human beings. And if you want to be floating in a sea of sameness and be like everyone else in town, then do what everybody else in town is doing. But you're setting yourself up for a mediocre legal career. Without exception, the lawyers that I've met that have risen to the top of their profession, whatever type of law they're practicing, the lawyers that other people are talking about, the lawyers that get all the big cases in town, they're doing something different. They're standing out above all the noise. They've given themselves permission to tap into their hobbies, their interests and passions, and then share those on social media, share their human side on social media, so that clients will know, like, and trust you. And then when they need your services, they're going to contact that human being who happens to be a lawyer to help them hold their hand and get through this legal challenge. And I think we're living in a new world. Lawyers, are super bright, intelligent human beings, but they need to start looking at things through a different lens, and they need to put themselves out there. If you do this, and I can say this without exception, every lawyer I know that's bought into this approach to digital and social, and it applies offline too, has come back to me full circle 6 months later, 6 years later. It's like, Mitch, thank you. That was the best advice I've ever gotten. I'm so glad I let my hair down. Even if you don't have a lot of hair like me, I'm so glad I let my hair down and just started having some fun on social media. Yeah. It's not complicated. This is not rocket science, but it does take a little bit of effort. It takes some work, and it does require you to give yourself permission to show up with a, I'm gonna go for a run as soon as we're done. So I don't have a suit and tie on, which is a good thing, right? But it gives yourself permission just to show up with who you are, and share your life in a way that you're comfortable with doing this, and people will connect with you. They'll respect who you are, and I think they'll start resonating with what you're doing, not only in your law firm, but also in your community and your online activities.
You just summarized it so well, and I'm so glad that we're recording this, and so that other lawyers can hear, because if you look at everything that you're doing, Mitch, you have built an extremely successful practice and a community of people who, I call it an opportunity funnel. I don't like the word sales funnel. I don't think it applies for lawyers and anyone really. Since day one that you're born, you are building an opportunity funnel. These are your family, your neighbors, the people who babysat you. You are building these connections with people, and you never know how one can end up maybe being a future client, a future employee. And so it's super important to start looking at that you already have your opportunity funnel. You have your network, tapping into that and how to grow it, and then providing value so that your funnel then starts giving you work. And it's just like this continuous process. But you hit the nail on the head with lawyers being able to, or how lawyers should start using social media and that it's not a downside. So,
it's interesting the way we're trained, and what you just said, you said it a lot better than I did. And we're trained as lawyers to always look for that angle. We're trained as lawyers to be objective and to set goals. And I don't set goals. That's a whole other thing we can talk about. I'm kind of the Jason Fried approach, the CEO of Basecamp. I agree with how Jason's built his business, which is a whole nother show. We can talk about it. But, it's one of these things where if you help people from the heart, you're genuine in what you're trying to do, I think it does people recognize that. And as long as you're not that lawyer that's trying to put that, I've got an angle here, there's an end goal, there's an end play here, you just gotta just trust the world. You gotta humanity. And I think for law, the more we help consumers fix problems with social media, Francesca, instead of me sitting sitting across the desk from one person, which is what we used to have to do. Now with social, we can do a show like this and we can reach 1,000 people. We can reach 10,000 people. We can reach 100,000 people with an easy legal solution, or maybe some things people need to think about when they're starting a company. What are trademark and other IP or copyright issues they need to pay attention to? You're speaking to a global audience in today's world across multiple time zones with just a couple of clicks or swipes with your phone. And for me, that's what's super valuable. That's what I enjoy doing. It's helping people. And now with social and digital, we can help more people across, more time zones in an easier and less expensive fashion than ever before. So it's a fun time to be a lawyer. It's a fun time to be alive.
I think now is a good transition to talk about Clubhouse, because Clubhouse has changed the game. I know that you're super active on it. You've built this community. Tell us a little bit about how Clubhouse has changed your social media use, and if you recommend it for other lawyers.
So I do recommend it. It's a cool platform. I know you're killing it on Clubhouse. You're doing the same thing. So we both have clubs on the platform. And Clubhouse, everyone, it's an audio-only platform. Right now, as of today, it's available for iPhone users. Or expanding out the platform to Android. All the major platforms are adopting an audio-only type of component to the platform. Twitter has Twitter Spaces. But with Clubhouse, what we're doing, it's audio only. So it doesn't matter how you look. It doesn't matter if you've done your hair like I've done today. It doesn't matter what you're wearing. It's all audio. And you can use your phone and you can participate in conversations. You can start a room on a trending topic, 3 intellectual property things every new startup needs to take into consideration. And Francesca can jump in and answer questions from people that are thinking about starting companies that haven't even thought about intellectual property. They don't know what a trademark is. But once they listen to Francesca, or if I'm in there with her,
I need this.
They're like, wait a minute, I get what she's saying. And so it's allowed you and I to really tap into audiences, once again, around the world, because we have people from around the world in our rooms when we do this. And but for me, in addition to adding value and maybe using Clubhouse to answer the top 10 or 20 most often asked questions that we get, each month, my favorite part about Clubhouse is actually going into different rooms. For example, I go into the health and sciences room. I'll go into the entertainment conversations and see what some of the executives in Hollywood are talking about with respect to the entertainment industry. I love going into rooms with legitimate entrepreneurs who I've followed for years, talking about their startup, telling their startup stories from start to finish, right? And then selling that company for $1 billion, raising my hand, jumping up on stage, and then you get to ask questions. One of my favorite rooms this past month was at the end of Katie Couric's room with her husband, John. She was nice enough to notice me in the audience and say, hey, Mitch, I want to invite you up on stage. Mitch Jackson, told me about Clubhouse back in December. I should have jumped on it sooner. And so I got to share, spend 15 minutes with Katie and her husband, John. That's the type of interaction that's available on Clubhouse that, frankly, I haven't seen on the other social media platforms over the last 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And so it's a powerful platform that allows you to build relationships that you can then take off over to your law firm, over to Instagram, over to Twitter to continue the digital dance. I always tell my friends that social media platforms can come and go, but good relationships will last a lifetime. So it's a place to start building those quality relationships so that we can then help or be of service when they need us. So it's a fun platform. I'm enjoying it a lot.
I love it. And I think I want to talk about some very specific Clubhouse tips because we already gave an overview of Clubhouse. There's people who are super, they run their own clubs. They have thousands of followers. I am learning that there are things that people do that are very Clubhouse specific. And we can talk about, and I would ask you to talk about tips for running a room, including, resetting a room, pull to refresh. But what I've been learning too is I've been seeing people, quote unquote, MC. So people will have guest speakers to come in, and so that they're not marketing their services, they'll have a friend in the room who will just take the lead and say, Mitch Jackson here, he's got his new book, follow him. Like, I love that because it's authentic, and two, you're not up there and you don't have to just sound like you're salesy and marketing. So I want to talk about that and hear your tips, because there are people who are super advanced in Clubhouse that I think will benefit from hearing this.
So I don't think any of us like to be marketed on social media, including Clubhouse. So having said that, if you bring in rooms, if you have content that adds value to the audience, whatever that content may be, for me, I love bringing in guests. I think we've been guests on each other's shows, right? Yes. And bringing in guests and really shining a bright light on you, for example, and talking about what you've done, kind of like what you're doing with me here, but on Clubhouse. It's audio only, inviting the audience to come up and ask you questions and get their IP questions answered, or maybe have you share some resources that will help take them by the hand and get them going in the right direction. But just like anything else in life, there's a way to moderate a room. There's a way to keep the conversation going. There's a way to keep things exciting that I think we can use in the Clubhouse venue. And I've got a free Facebook group, Francesca, that I think you're a part of. And it's
I love this group.
Yeah, it's what is it called? It's
Lawyers on Facebook or Facebook.
It's Lawyers on Clubhouse.
Yes.
Something like that, right? And we'll share the link. But we have about 500 lawyers in this Facebook group, and all we talk about is Clubhouse techniques. It's not for promoting or marketing. It's like Clubhouse tips when Clubhouse rolls out a new update. How do you moderate a room? How do you start your own club? What's the best way to include the audience in the conversation? It's called Lawyers on Clubhouse, by the way, if anyone wants to search Facebook. Yeah, all right. And but it's just there to add value and to help lawyers avoid stumbling, over, tripping themselves up in their first couple of rooms. Because once lawyers get this stuff, they pick up on it quickly. We're used to being in front of people, right? And I've noticed that with social media. And so, for example, what you want to do when you're moderating a Clubhouse room is you want to keep things exciting, moving forward. You want to include the audience in the conversation. If we've got 3 or 4 or 5 people on stage that are what we call co-moderating, we're all talking about a topic, you want to just make sure you include everybody in the conversation and ask open-ended questions and listen, and then follow up on what someone says, maybe with a short follow-up question, or maybe, that was fascinating, Francesca. Does anybody else agree or disagree with what she just said? And it's about it's the art of conversation, I think, is what we're seeing. Those that have it on Clubhouse are doing really well. Others are slowly learning that it's not all about me or you or whoever's on stage. It's about the community that's in the room. But I think we're all trying to figure it out together. And so we have 4 or 5 posts specifically oriented towards, if you're a lawyer and you want to build out your brand on Clubhouse, if you go to the Lawyers on Clubhouse Facebook group and go to the top, and you're going to see a link that says announcements, and there's a single post there. And when you click on that, you'll have links to the 4 or 5 posts that we're talking about that really do take you by the hand and show you how to use the platform, how to go about it the right way. I share a few mistakes that I made early on the platform, speaking, out of turn, for example. Sometimes there's an unwritten rule as to the order of when you can unmute and speak. And so I share, what's worked for me, what hasn't worked for me, and maybe what will work for you over in that Facebook group.
I love that. I just opened it up. I didn't actually know that was there. So this is amazing. And everyone needs to go on and access that group. It's private, but Mitch will let you in.
I'll let you in if you just answer. What's interesting is, here's the thing. The questions are, do you promise to be a good person? Do you promise to add value? These are like basic questions, you guys. But the reason I did it, Francesca, is I'm really excited when lawyers embrace and do social media the right way. It helps all of us be better people in front of the consumer. I happen to know lawyers add a massive amount of value to the community. And I'm not a big fan of lawyer. I get a good joke. I have a sense of humor. But what other profession is it okay to tell jokes about what somebody does? We've worked really hard to become lawyers, and we work really hard to get results at trial for our clients. And I think it's really important for lawyers to do everything they can to build credibility and a better reputation with the general consumer. So one of the reasons I set up this group is I want lawyers to come into Clubhouse and use it the right way.
Yes.
Come across the right way where they're adding value to the room instead of coming across like a late night, lawyer television ad. And
you hear those
difference between the two. I set up the group.
Yeah, no, there are people, and I've actually reached out to them. I actually DM them, and I'm super nice about it. But I've messaged them and been like, this was really great, but just so you know, there's a lot of business people in this audience, and what I like to do, and it's been beneficial, is just being super concise. I limit what I say to a minute or no more than 2 minutes, because then you can ramble. And it forces you to be very concrete and not talk like legal jargon, because that is the value we're adding. It depends. If we're in a room of lawyers, there's one thing. But the other thing I've seen people do not so good is they get so caught up as lawyers to not give legal advice that then they just end up just saying disclaimers and not saying anything. And I literally have seen that before. And again, I've reached out to people to say look, the way that I do it is I give very high level overviews of things. I explain what a trademark is, and then I give different points of maybe an analysis, but I make clear at the beginning, just this isn't legal advice. And then I don't go into super specifics. If it is very specific, I have a link in my Instagram bio where you can click, you can set up a 15-minute call. But for the most part, I'll walk them through the general points and the general legal issues so that the person who's in the room doesn't feel like, oh, well, why did I even attend this if this person isn't even going to help me?
Exactly. I love the way you're doing it. That's exactly the way to do it. We can approach issues from the 30,000 foot level and add value and plant seeds where people are like, okay, now I understand why trademarks are so important. And then what you do is you give them the option, like you just mentioned, if you have questions, just drop down to the bottom of my profile, and everyone at the bottom of your Clubhouse profile, you can link your Instagram and your Twitter accounts, and you can invite people to keep the conversation going over on Instagram or private Twitter DMs. And you learn how to incorporate these ideas, these suggestions into the conversation when you're on Clubhouse. I love what you said about keeping our comments short and sweet. I do the same thing. I love to talk. I could spend hours answering a short question.
It's already 2:48. I know how time went. We could talk all day.
It's crazy, right? But the thing is, on Clubhouse, is I'll try to keep it to 60 seconds if I can. And then, if anyone has any additional questions, just reach out to me. So
I love that. No, this is why I wanted you on here, just because, Mitch, we're always on Clubhouse, but you're right. A lot of the times you do these rooms and then you're not the one speaking. A lot of it is about the community. Yeah. So then people come up, and sometimes it's unfortunate because I've had rooms where I have this amazing panel, but then the Q&A takes up a lot of it. So I think another tip about being a good moderator is really knowing when to keep try to time limit. Some people keep an eye on it and turn the question back on your panelists, because they made time out of their busy schedules to be there and be a resource. And I always feel bad. I've seen rooms where you have these amazing people who literally barely talked. So that's just something to think about.
Good tips, and listen, if anyone has any questions about Clubhouse, reach out to Francesca or me, and we'll turn you on to the resources and share the links that we're talking about.
Yeah, and everyone should join your Lawyers on Clubhouse group on Facebook. Okay, Mitch, again, I could have you here all day.
I'm not pressed for time. And so what I want to do is I'll shorten my answers to your questions because I do want to that Jacob asked, do you recommend combining your personal and professional channels? Ooh. And I like to combine my social media channels. What you see is what you get on my Twitter feed. What you see is what you get on my Instagram feed. You're going to see a court verdict. You're going to see me out running or paddleboarding. Back in the day when the kids were playing sports, I'd go live from the soccer sidelines or the football field or the track meet. And I think it just showing your human side is the power of social media. I have no problem with combining both.
My husband did that. I didn't. I wish I did. I had so many photos from like 10, 15 years ago. There was nothing like terrible on there, but the same pictures I posted in college aren't the same that I want like potential clients to look at.
Right. I get it. Look, I'm glad social wasn't around when I was in high school and college.
I feel bad for these. I feel bad for it now.
Well, so let's talk about that real quick. So if you were like me in high school and college and social media was around and you don't want those pictures up, and I wasn't a bad person. That's just crazy party stuff. There's nothing wrong when you're in law school. That's a great time. When you're in law school, start thinking, okay, I want to create my brand. Okay. Yes. And set an Instagram account, a new Twitter account, whatever, TikTok, and start sharing the type of content that shows who you are. Once again, your hobbies, your interests, your passions. Reach out to senior partners in your firm that have had interesting trial results or who love to talk about themselves. Get them on interviews like this. Have that be part of the content that you're building out. Shine a light on leaders in the community, things happening that are important to you in your local, national, or global communities. Tomorrow's Earth Day, and you could have someone on and talk about what Earth Day is all about and why it's important, and pick out maybe a segment of Earth Day that's near and dear to your heart, and build your content on these platforms around these topics. You can start something new, and if you started in law school or your first couple of years of practice, it goes by like this, you guys. Looking back, I'm in year 35. I remember when I started practicing, Francesca, I was sharing office space in exchange for me working, I think it was 15 or 20 hours a week for a group of 5 lawyers. They let me use their conference room, their address, their phone systems. And so that was, quote unquote, my office, right? So like I said, down at Laguna Beach, but I had a night as my clients, what it looked like to them. But they had been practicing about 8 years when I was law clerk and when I started practicing. And I thought, 8 years, these guys and gals have been practicing forever. They must know everything, right? Because I didn't grow up in the business. And there was no internet back then. And I'm just telling everyone that, those first 5, 10, 15 years is when you learn your craft, and it goes by fast. So don't be afraid to start over in law school or in your first couple of years with building out your brand, and use the tips in my book to go about doing it the right way, you guys. And I think you'll be very, very happy with how quickly you can stand out, above all the noise when it comes to building your brand and competing in your community as a lawyer.
I love that, Mitch. Yeah, we're seeing the next gen really do this too. I love seeing all the law students make those accounts. It's fantastic. So we're coming up to the end of the hour. I do want to mention, I want to ask you about your Legal Minds community, because I think this is something that's super unique to our industry. And I love the way that you've creatively used technology to build a community and to reach as many people as possible. So can you tell us a little bit about the Legal Minds group?
I will. It's legalminds.lawyer. It's a mastermind. It's a global mastermind. And I love speaking around the country at different events. And what I realized at a lot of lawyer conventions is they were, for whatever reason, sharing really old, out-of-date marketing and branding approaches. And it just wasn't working for me being on stage at these events when I knew to use social and digital, everyone had to completely do a 180 and go a different direction and approach this process from a different perspective. So I put together this global mastermind. It's all digital, where we have lawyers and we talk about everything that we've been talking about today. And we do Q&A once a week. We have live Zooms where people come in and we crowdsource ideas and solutions. Obviously, there's networking involved in Legal Minds, but it's been fun because it's allowed all of us that are part of Legal Minds to tap into this global network of lawyers when it comes to getting our questions answered, looking for a good referral in a different state, both giving and receiving. And so it's just been a lot of fun. What I also enjoy doing, though, is it's given me an opportunity to reach out to friends of mine, some of the top marketing and branding experts on the planet that have nothing to do with law, but everything to do with building your brand. And I bring them into Legal Minds, like on a show like this, and I'll interview them and we'll approach it, from an angle that might help lawyers as opposed to other businesses, professions, or industries. And so it's been a fun way for me to bring in experts that a lot of these lawyers would not otherwise be exposed to, and offer some unique approaches to building your practice that most people haven't thought about. And so it's been fun, and I've enjoyed every single minute of it.
I love it. I love it. I'm a part of it, and I've been benefiting from it. So thank you.
We do have some changes, though. So I've got some things going on in 2021, just so you know. And I can't make any announcements right now, but we are going to pivot just a little bit to add more value, to make it easier for everybody to digest the information. Because right now we're using Mighty Networks, which is a really cool app, you guys. It allows everybody in my network, and law firms can use this app too for their clients or whatever it might be, to access content on their phones, their tablets, their laptops, or their desktops, okay? So there's no advertising. You're not part of Facebook. You're not part of LinkedIn. It's a private app that's easy to use, easy to manage, and it allows you to add value to your community. And so think about that, you guys. If you want to build out a community, think about tapping into something like Mighty Networks to do that. Because you'll avoid the noise of advertising and you'll add immediate value to your clients or customers.
That's fantastic. Yeah, there's so much out there. There's Kajabi that I'm not ready to announce my big plans, but big things are happening over here.
Okay. So we'll be on each other's shows again to do the big announcements.
Yeah. But I would say, I know tomorrow, right? You have your Earth Day on Clubhouse. Is that your next event coming up?
So one of the fun things about social media is we all need to be flexible, right? So I had Earth Day set up on Clubhouse for 6 a.m. my time tomorrow because it's Earth Day. But we had a mediation that was delayed yesterday because of the verdict on the case, on the George Floyd case. And so it looks like I mentioned tomorrow morning. So we're still trying to work that out. So I'll let you know. But here's the thing. I don't want lawyers to get all stressed out about social media. You want to have fun. You want to make this social. Yep. So unlike a deposition or a trial date, you guys, if you set stuff up on social and something happens, you can change it. It's not the end of the world. People understand that things come up. And Francesca, that's something that I think a lot of lawyers get stressed out about. We started off with you scheduling all these things, right? And when things come up, you can change them on social, you guys. It's totally okay to do. If you have a community that know, likes, and trusts you, they'll understand that something came up. So I'm going to have to bounce that. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to pull it off tomorrow. I hope so, because the environment is super important to me and a lot of friends of mine. Either way, we're donating. Either way, we will be participating. I'm just not sure I'll be hosting a room tomorrow morning on Clubhouse.
No problem.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Mitch Mitch has so much going on. Just follow him. Mitch, where are the best places where people can connect with you?
So the best place to connect with me is all over social media, you guys. But if you go to streaming.lawyer, you can find all the links there. It's not my official law firm website, which is jacksonandwilson.com, but streaming.lawyer is where I share live videos, social media content, branding and marketing stuff, and some personal things also. And before we bolt, I want to share a book real quick. Is that okay?
Yes,
okay,
absolutely.
Because you guys, my dear friend Mark Schaefer, who's a gifted author, gifted marketer and brander, has a new book out. It's called Cumulative Advantage. Okay. It's one of the best business development books I've ever read. It's that good. And it's all about why is it that two lawyers graduate from the same law school with the same grades, same networks, same drive, determination, same passions, but 10 years later, one lawyer's found success and the other lawyer's still struggling. Now, this isn't about lawyers, okay, but I'm using lawyers as an example.
Sure.
What's the difference, right? And so what Mark did is he analyzed this issue. And I think we can all think of situations where we've watched this happen. It resonated with me because what Mark wrote about in the book is exactly what I did 4 to 5 years into my practice. Okay. I found a seam and then I executed. I went all in on this seam, on this opportunity, and I never looked back. Mark explains how to do it. For those of you listening, if we've talked about something that interests you on social media about building your brand, it might just be your seam. It may be your cumulative advantage. So definitely get the book. You'll understand what I'm talking about, and it may change the direction of your practice, and it may change your life. It's super important. Investing it, cumulative advantage of your.
Thank you so much, Mitch. I usually like to end with like a book recommendation or a podcast. So that was perfect.
I mean, it's like we know each other's things.
I know, it's so great. Mitch, have me back on your show. There's just so much we can talk about. You're totally going to come back on mine, but I'm so grateful that you were the inaugural Trademark Attorney podcast, episode 1. So this is fantastic.
It's good to be here. I'm glad to be here. You know, I've always got your back. I'm super impressed by all that you're doing, Francesca. And especially with social and digital in today's world, intellectual property is what everybody doing business online needs to focus on, right? Yeah. This is it. You've positioned yourself very well for the next 20 or 30 years, however long you want to practice. And so I'm excited for you. I'm excited to be a small part of your show. And I'm excited, hopefully, to help everybody, you know, enjoy the journey and continue to make each day their masterpiece.
Thank you so much, Mitch. You're fantastic. And we'll catch you on Clubhouse and all across the streaming platforms. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, Francesca.
Bye, Mitch.